Hey, what's up, family? This is Marseille, aka the Property Pastor, here with Kingdom Legacy Builders, where our mission is to help everyday people like you and me to create a lasting legacy through real estate investing and wealth creation principles. You know, Proverbs 13:22, it says that a good man or good woman leaves an inheritance for their children's children. And here with Kingdom Legacy Builders, we're all about that. We're all about teaching. We're all about sharing. We're all about helping you to grow, helping you to build up and set up something for your kids and for your kids' kids, and so on and so forth for your community, right? But it's just such a blessing to be with you guys today. And we're talking today all about the pros and the cons of real estate investing. And we're doing a new series, and it's really talking all about how do you buy your first rental property in the next year. And we would all like to be able to get our first rental property in the next 12 months. And you know, you've probably seen those late night infomercials. You turn on HGTV, they make it so easy. You might go to a seminar or a course and they tell you, hey, just give me $25,000 and I'll teach you everything you need to know. And that can be very intimidating, can it? It can be very difficult as you go through this process of trying to figure out what steps do I need to take. So in this series, we're going to be going deep, y'all. We're going into the nuts and bolts of what are the things you need to do with your financial picture. How do you analyze properties? How do you build your investment team? We're going to go through all of these different topics, right? I'm here to answer your questions. So before we get started, I want to remind you to make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel. You know, every single week we're bringing great new content. We're breaking it down to the nitty gritty of real estate investing through the nitty gritty of wealth generation principles. So make sure you like and subscribe. But again, I want to talk to you a little bit today about the pros and cons of real estate investing. Now, everybody, you know, it seems like today everybody's a real estate investor. You know, you turn on the TV and you see folks, you know, like I mentioned on HGTV, you may know somebody, or, you know, nowadays it seems like everybody wants to get into real estate. But it's not easy to get into it, is it? You know, and I want to talk a little bit about some of the pros and cons, you know, and if you're trying to figure out what steps do I need to take, I think one of the first things you need to do is to decide whether or not real estate investing is actually for you. So I want to give you kind of the good news, and I want to also give you some of the bad news about real estate investing. You know, you may be looking at, hey, do I want to invest in stocks and bonds? Do I want to buy Bitcoin? Do I want to buy cryptocurrency, right? You know, what do I need to invest my money in? You know, if you're like me, I don't just have money just laying around just to throw in places, right? So you want to make sure that whatever you're investing into, it makes sense for you. You know, I think it's Warren Buffett. He said that you should only invest in things you understand. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the good and the bad of real estate investing. You know, I've been investing in real estate here now for about 3.5 years, and it's been an amazing journey. My dad he's got rental properties. I'm around real estate investors, and in my circle, I have a lot of real estate investors who help guide me through this process. So I'm here to give you some of that information absolutely free. I want to bless you. I want you to be able to build that legacy for your children and your children's children. So let's dig into it, y'all. First of all, what's the good news? The good news about real estate investing is that you can achieve financial independence, and what that means is basically being free from a wage earning job. And it's up to you, right? You can either still go to work with your investing profits, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to sleep in today. I want to go volunteer in the community, whatever it is that you want to do. But the good news about real estate investing is that it is a vehicle that can allow you to achieve financial independence well within the next 10 years. It's not a get rich quick scheme, right? But if you apply the right principles over time, you will gain and achieve financial independence. I'm well on my way to that in this past 3 years. I believe that, you know, anywhere from 4 to 10 years, depending on your grind, depending on, you know, how you build your network, depending on how you scale your business, you can easily retire. You can easily quit your day job in less than 10 years. So that's the good news. And statistically, 90% of millionaires in this country have attained and achieved their wealth through real estate investing. Those are some pretty good odds, right? That's some pretty good statistics to back up why real estate investing is such a good vehicle. And one of the things I talk about, that 10-year mark, I want you to understand there's a quote I built by Bill Gates that I love. And that quote says that many people, they overestimate what they can do in 1 year, and they underestimate what they can do in 10. Let me say that again. Most people, they overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but then they underestimate what they can do in 10. And what that means is that many people kind of look and they say, okay, the next year, you know, we're in February right now, right? So in January, folks made all these New Year's resolutions, had all these goals and dreams. They had all the stuff that they wanted to achieve in 1 year. but they don't have 5-year plans. They don't have 10-year plans, right? We must recognize that by little, step by step, you can achieve financial independence through a vehicle like real estate investing. So the good news is that you can get there in not a lot of time. Some people are like, oh, that's too long. 5 years, 10 years, that's too long. But most people don't retire until they're like 65 from their W-2 job, right? So recognize that I think that's very doable. It's a very good tool, right? So the thing about it that you must see is, like I said, it's doable, right? 10 years or less, you could be financially independent, right? You could be financially free and enjoy the rest of your life. The next thing is that real estate increases in value over time. In other words, it is an appreciating asset. If you take your car, the moment you drive it off the lot, it's worth less than it was when you bought it, right? And a lot of us spend a lot of time, a lot of money on cars. We want to look good, but we need to spend our money on assets, right? We need to spend our money on assets. And the thing about real estate is that it increases in value over time. A lot of folks in a growing, appreciating market, they bought a house maybe for $100,000. 10, 15 years later, it's perhaps doubled in value, right? So real estate is a really nice vehicle because it increases in value over time. The other thing that's really good about real estate is that your tenants, they pay for your expenses. So if you've bought a property that, that cash flows well, every single month that tenant pays you rent, they're also paying down your mortgage, right? So you actually get to have an asset that you will own for the life of it, 30, 40, whatever, those number of years, and somebody else paid for it. That's phenomenal. The thing about real estate is as it appreciates, right, it increases in value, and then the equity begins to increase because the mortgage is being paid down. You can take that equity and either sell the house, right, or you can take that equity and put it into more investments, right? That's legacy building right there, right? So I love that about real estate. Like I said, it appreciates in value over time, and your tenants, they pay for it, right? They pay down the mortgage or pay down the note. Additionally, it's tried and true, right? Like I mentioned earlier, 90% of millionaires in this country use real estate. It's a tried and true method. Every state, every city, every town you go into, there are people who are landlords, right? And the United States government is not the best at public housing. Some of y'all grew up in public housing. We understand that the U.S. government is not the best at public housing. So they need people who provide housing, right? And the thing that's wonderful about it is that real estate investing is a tried and true method. So I'm teaching you guys throughout the course of this series the principles that are going to help you, right? Like I mentioned, it's basic math of how you analyze a deal. It's basic math about how you understand cash flow and a return on investment. And we're going to teach you all of that stuff throughout the course of this series, right? But the beautiful part about it is people have done it before. This is not something brand new. King Solomon, he said there's nothing new under the sun. That's one thing I love about real estate investing is that there are people who have already done exactly what I'm trying to do. And that brings me to my last point. The last piece of really good news about real estate is that there is supply and demand, right? Everybody needs somewhere to live, right? It's a few folks who are always going to be in business, right? The hospital, right? They're always going to be in business because people, are always getting sick. The medical companies, right? The drug companies are going to be in business. The mortician, he's always going to be in business. But guess what? You as a real estate investor, you're always going to be in business because people always need somewhere to live. That is an industry where I don't see going away for a long time. So that's really good news. You can invest in something that's going to be stable, right? It's going to be repeatable. It's going to generate for you, repeatable and consistent returns on your money with a whole lot of benefits. But here's the kicker. But right, there is some bad news with real estate investing. I know you're probably listening to this thing and you're excited, right? You're like, let's get started, Marseille. But there is some bad news, and I don't want you to go into this thing without counting the cost, right? The Bible lets us know that we shouldn't enter into a journey until we count the cost, right? So we're going to count some of the costs. First of all, the bad news about real estate investing is that it's not easy, right? And anybody who tells you that it's an easy thing, I think they might not be. They're doing you a disservice, right? Because it's not easy. It can be kind of hands-off depending on how you structure, right? But real estate investing is not easy. People don't just walk into it and they're an expert at what they're doing, right? There are issues with tenants. Right now we have moratoriums on evictions all throughout the country, right? And landlords are struggling through some of that process, right? People are struggling through the pandemic as well, but landlords are also struggling. So you got the tenant issues. You have property issues. I mean, I remember my very first property that I purchased. Man, I had a sewer line that just kept blocking up. And it happened like 4 times in the course of the first year. And I doubted whether or not I was going to have to sell that property, right? But over time, we were able to work our way through that issue, got it, fixed, and now that property is doing phenomenal, right? So there's tenant issues. There's issues with the property itself. There's setbacks you run into, unforeseen expenses. There's all of these kind of things, right? Contractors could take advantage of you. You got to deal with people. You got to deal with, banks. You got to deal with all of these headaches and hassles. But here's what I've learned, y'all, is that if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And there's a lot of people who get started and they kind of quit because it's not easy. The other piece is that it could be hands-on. So if you just want to park your money somewhere, just watch the money grow, watch the checks pour in. Real estate investing is not always like that. There are some vehicles that you can do that. We call it turnkey investing and things like that, right? And you can be like what they call a note investor. You can be, a private money lender. There's all these different things you can do to be kind of hands off. But in terms of being a landlord, in terms of being an active real estate investor, it can be hands on, right? So if you're working a job, trying to run your business off to the side, it can be very time consuming. And the next thing is that it takes money in most cases, right? It takes money. Some people say it takes money to make money, but you gotta recognize that in real estate investing, a lot of times, your each property, if you're going through a conventional lender, it's going to cost you 20 to 25% down. So if I'm buying $100,000 investment, that means I've got to come up with $20 to $25,000 before the bank will finance me. Now you got leverage that's going to help you out tremendously, which is a benefit. But most people struggle because they're like, where am I going to find an extra $25,000? Right? And we're going to show you how to do that. But there's also ways like first-time home buyer programs, right, where you're only getting in for like 3% down. So if you've never purchased a property before, right, you can overcome that. There's side hustles, right? There's ways to save money. We're going to teach you all about that through the course of these videos, right? But it does cost money to get started. It typically costs money, and there's some creative ways, and we'll show you some of that stuff as well. I've got tons of videos, got a whole series about that, and we'll put a link in it so you can see it as well. But typically, it costs money. And then the last drawback, the last part of bad news I want to give you is that it takes time. In real estate investing is often called getting rich slow. Getting rich slow. Like I said, I've been at it for about 3.5 years. I've built my portfolio up. I've got 27 doors spread across 9 different properties, and every year we're constantly growing, right? And I'm on my way to financial independence, but it takes time. Right? I didn't go into that, and then 6 months later, I was like, boom, I'm retired. Y'all have a nice day, right? It takes time. It takes time and consistency and patience, right? But I'm trying not to overestimate in 1 year, right? And underestimate in 10, right? It's a long play game, right? But at the end of the day, if you are ready to handle all of the bad stuff, all of the baggage that comes in it, right? The bad stuff, the good news far outweighs the bad news, right? The pros far outweigh the cons with real estate investing, and that's why 90% of millionaires utilize it as a wealth building tool. So, we're going to be digging in with this thing. Make sure you guys drop your comments, drop your questions. Make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you share this video. We are here to help you build a legacy. As you look at those children in your house, you look at your grandchildren, we want better, right? We want better for them. So it starts with us. Make the decision that you are going to be the one to set your future generations up for success. Hey, y'all, this has been Marseille, the property pastor with Kingdom Legacy Builders. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming to hang out with me today. I can't wait to see you again. Take care and God bless.